Before we get into this episode, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. You can hit the notification button so you can get updated weekly on all of our latest content. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, tell us what you want to see next below. One of the things that I'm most fascinated about writers is it's a lot of work and it's a lot of discipline. Do you have a cadence and a routine that you adhere to every single day?
Well, first of all, I'm not writing a book now for a variety of reasons. I've been resisting writing a book since the pandemic, because you have to spend so much time alone. I am doing a one-woman show, which I've performed literally all over the world, and we'll be doing in New York City again on December 5th. I have to put in that little plug. And yes, I have a routine, which is basically writing 6 hours a day.
Whoa.
10 pages a day, kind of whichever comes first. I mean, there have been days when I'm like really warmed up and I could write 25 pages in a day. But there's a lot of pressure writing a book. You have deadlines, you have an advance, you really have to stick to the schedule. And it's not just 6 hours a day when you're writing. It's, the rest of the day, which is absorbing, material, looking at other books, other novels, absorbing like other creative, outlets for inspiration. And when I'm really writing a book, I don't go out. I mean, I would go out for maybe an hour a day.
Wow.
So it's a very, a novel is still an entertainment product that one person makes. And it takes a long time, it takes probably at least a year to write the book. And then there's editing and all of that. So, it's a 2 or 3 year investment. And then when you're finished, I mean, with every single book that I've written, you look at Amazon and it's like, did these people even read the same book that I wrote? Because somehow with books, people come with like all of their history, all of their neuroses, all of their psychoses, all of their prejudices. They bring to your book and to your writing. And people aren't, my point of view is pretty absurdist. And
what do you mean by that?
It's absurd. It's about how absurd life is.
Okay.
And that was really what's driven all of my writing. So in that sense, it's like, this is my voice. It's always been my voice. I'm not afraid to, write the truth about people, which, a lot of people who read books, they want to read, a happy ending where everybody's nice, etc. And as an observer, I can't buy into that and I can't fake it. So that's one of the realities, I would say, of writing a novel. It's really about your voice, and like sometimes people get it and sometimes they don't. Whereas I have found, when people are looking at a screen or anything where there's an actor and it's presented to them, that seems to be a much more universal experience. Like, so many people love Sex and the City. It's a TV show, it's on TV, it's on a screen. When people go to a movie, there tends to be a sort of unanimous viewpoint about it.
That's kind of the beauty of art, though. I feel like it's art. Some people love it, some people hate it.
Does it bother you? Like if you read one of those Amazon reviews, you're like, they just don't get it over the...
Yeah, you just, that was something that writers never had to deal with in the past. And, I do think that in general, people, there's a lot of criticism out there. And do people want to destroy you? Yes, they do. And there's so many actors. Like when I did Lipstick Jungle, the actors on Lipstick Jungle, which was based on one of my books, they were really disturbed by the things that they were reading online.
Like, give an example of something that disturbed people that was an absurdity of life.
That's too complicated. Something that disturbed people. This would be what,
or like she's saying, like a review that
would tell me, that they were very disturbed and they found it, people criticizing their looks and this and that. And so that made it hard for them to like go out on the set because they were very self-conscious. Are people going to dislike this? Are they going to dislike that? And this has ended up being a much more serious conversation than I was expecting to have. I thought we were going to have fun.
We are going to have
fun. It was going to be light and fluffy.
Oh, it will be
We
fun.
can make it light and fluffy. I think we're just curious about this process because, somebody who's built such an extensive career doing what you do and has kind of had tentacles now move into, television and books and so many things. Like one of the questions I was wondering is, how much of that do you think is kind of God-given talent versus the practices around the discipline of actually, like, do you think if you have the right practices and discipline, you can become a great writer and write great stories? Or do you think some of it is natural? Like what's the kind of like the balance, I guess?
Well, I think that's hard to say. There is I do think that there's an X factor with things. And, that's one of the reasons why there are movie stars. That's one of the reasons why there are influencers. Like a lot of the time you look at these influencers and you're like, they just have that X factor that makes everybody want to look at them on that, in that medium. And, it's the same thing with novels too. I mean, there's some people who they have something that naturally connects with a large audience. And, then there is there's the discipline of doing it. And, when I was younger, I felt like, if I didn't write, I was going to die. So I think that if you're going to be a writer or an actor or an artist, you have to have that innate passion where you feel like if you don't do this, you just have no reason for living. And that was really how I felt for a very long time. And that was what made me pursue being a novelist, really.
If someone's listening and they want to get into the profession of writing, what are some other tips that you would give them?
I really resist the whole idea of giving people tips because there's so many different paths to being a writer. It's like, what kind of writer do you want to be?
Right.
Number one, I always would get asked that question at book signings. And finally I asked this guy, what kind of writer do you want to be? And he said, I just want to write better emails.
Less emails.
I just want to write better emails. So, there are a million different paths, but it's really about having, the passion. I mean, really the single-mindedness of doing it that, makes for success. But it's like you have to have that passion. I don't think it can really come from the outside.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was asking you, was like how much, some people just like they want to strap a formula to something, like if I do this thing and follow these directions, then I will become the thing. But I think that's kind of,
I mean, one of the things that I see again and again, and one sees this in all of the creative fields, there are people who are incredibly talented, but they don't connect with a large audience.
Mhm.
And, at the end of the day, it's all about selling. It's all about like money. If you make an entertainment product and people buy it and pay money for it, you will be successful. People spend as much time as the successful writer, writing books, and they just, for whatever reason, it doesn't connect with the audience. And that's like the X factor. That's the sort of mystery of, you don't know. You don't know.
but I imagine it's so hard to not make it as a novelist or a writer because you have to put so much into that for so long. And then if it,
And I know so many people who have not made it.
yeah, that's tough.
I mean, living in New York, I've known tons of people over the years. They're wonderfully talented, but for some reason, it doesn't connect.
How do you think, you're the perfect person to ask this, how dating has changed since the 90s? What has changed?
Well, people have changed enormously. And we now live in an era where it's all about being an independent person and not depending on other people. So, I mean, just, physically, the fact that you can be a single, independent person, live on your own is something that, like, that's really changed. In the 1950s, there was no soup for one. So, you couldn't go to a supermarket. And I mean, even now it's hard to go to a supermarket and buy, food for just like one person. But back then it was even harder. And, we've just evolved into, I mean, it's probably part of a continuum. But we've become a society where people can be single and live on their own. And when people can do something, they do. That's what I found. Like, I used to have a radio show on Sirius, and I had a plastic surgeon on, and this was back in probably 2010. And, I was kind of like against plastic surgery, like, oh, it's cheating, because of my background. Of course, now I'm like, everybody should get it. But so I said to her, why do you think so many people are getting plastic surgery? And she said, because they can. And it's often that simple of an answer, because people can, because they can live on their own and, be independent. And we have our phones where you can construct your own entertainment. And, I mean, I think the future is really more and more single.
Huh.
Well, I mean, listen, this is not a political statement, but you have people like Elon Musk saying like the greatest risk to humanity is population collapsing because
100%
and like replacement.
disagree with that. If these men can come up with crypto, war, AI, all kinds of other inventions, you can figure out how to make the economy work with fewer people.
Well, no, I think
so. Basically, what he is saying is he wants a Ponzi scheme, which is the most basic economic.
Well, he wants people to have more children.
Why?
Because because in his mind, based on, and a lot of people share this, that if people aren't at least replacement of themselves, right? Like you're having enough children to at least replace society, that you will slowly over time collapse society that way. That, again, it's not my theory. I'm just sharing with you.
I completely disagree with that.
Pull up the graph. No, we don't have a graph.
I mean, I totally disagree with that because first of all, there are exponentially so many more people in the last 20 years than there were for like all of human history. And guess what? People were just fine. I mean, people look back and people want those days.
Okay, so let's follow a different thread. Like so if people are going to start to be more alone and more single, what do you think then happens to our society? Like, what do you think that looks like for future generations?
Well, I mean, what do you think it looks like with AI?
Well, I think I think
a lot of guys have like robot girlfriends.
And women can have, I saw something on TikTok the other day about some robot boyfriends
but don't talk back. And you don't have to pick up their boxers. You don't have to put the seat down. I mean, it just sounds kind of nice.
I think in the future there will be a lot fewer people. Sometimes I think, there'll be so much like climate change that, Manhattan will be some kind of giant bubble.
I think people are
big bubble over it.
They're overstimulated. I think the internet has gotten everyone overstimulated. So by the time we all get to our beds, we're all exhausted of stimulation. So then if you're going to add another person, the person better be fucking great. Because if you're not fucking great, then I don't want to be overstimulated anymore. I've had enough at the end of the day. I think like 10 years ago, maybe we weren't as stimulated by everything because there wasn't the phone in the face all the time, all day long.
Well, this is one of the realities, whether we like it or not. Technology tends to only go in one direction. And
it's not going to slow down.
We're not going back.
Right.
And technology is making, I think that there will be fewer people. And I pray that there will be like less violence, less abuse. Fewer animals will need to be killed. I mean, the system that we live in it's pretty flawed. But the reality is that the family thing, it works for a small percentage of people. That's the problem. And the problem with telling women that they've got to find a guy and their only route to happiness is being married and having kids. The problem with that is that it doesn't work for so many women because men are abusive. They leave. The list goes on and on. So that structure works now it never worked great for most women, but now women have the opportunity to not have to put themselves in those positions. And, that system doesn't work well for at least 50% of women. That's the problem.
Your work, I think, has contributed to making women feel more independent and more confident.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so, because I have really been a feminist ever since I was a little girl. I was hyper aware of sexism.
Really?
And I've always, I grew up in the 60s. I mean, it was in your face.
Here?
This area, okay. Yes. And, it was really, really in your face. There was no escaping it.
When do you remember the first moment that you sort of recognized sexism?
Probably when I went to kindergarten at 4 and was told that women could only have 4 jobs: nurse, teacher, secretary, or librarian.
Ooh.
But you could not be a doctor. And, women were, people would come out and say, like, women aren't as smart as men. Women aren't creative the way men are. So there were all of these restrictions on women and it wasn't just who you could be, it was also how you were supposed to think. Like you weren't supposed to be critical of anything. You were supposed to just accept things and be quiet.
When do you remember challenging that?
From a very early age. like probably like 4, you know? I mean, me and my sisters, I had 2 younger sisters, and, you know, we just didn't buy into any of it. I never have. And I always had lots of little girlfriends and, you know, and really saw the whole false narrative of men and women and the sexist narrative and the restrictions of that.
But okay, so like if following this line of reasoning, if like say 50% have a good experience and 50% have a bad experience, then like what is the universal advice to men and women about relationships?
I don't have any universal advice to men and women about relationships.
But if you're saying 50% of the relationships are not good experiences, like I think like what I'm getting at is like what's the takeaway for most people is like don't try or still try.
I don't know.
Because
I don't know. I mean, I don't
Because I
know
guess,
that I
like-
have to have the answers for this. I think that women like the fantasy of a relationship. And, you know, there's a lot of like fantasizing about who this person is and what they're going to do for you. But, you know, I mean, it's like fantasy versus the reality. I mean, I'm just talking about the reality. And it's probably more than 50% of women who it doesn't work for them. I mean, judging from things that one sees online. I mean, one of the things that's different now about, I would say, you know, from 20 years ago is that this is the first time I've ever seen women speaking out and saying, guess what? Motherhood didn't work for me. I didn't have the experiences that everyone said I was going to have. And, you know, relationships, heterosexual relationships didn't work for me either. And that was something that women always kept pretty quiet. It was always like, you know, oh, but there's still hope that you'll find, you know, this person. And so this is really the first time with social media that I have seen women speaking out, like, you know, the 4B movement.
When you started writing everything you were writing, was that one of the pillars that you wanted to hit, is to question that? When you set out to write everything?
I've always questioned it. You know, it's in my nature. It's in my personality to question it. I've always questioned it. I question everything. I question, you know, social status, money, power, all of it.
I love that about you. I think that's amazing. And I personally think like, why do we don't all have to like being a mom. We don't all have to like being married. We don't all have to like being in a relationship. It's different strokes for different folks. I don't get why that's so controversial, but it seems like it is.
Yes. Well, I think it's because women are pushed into, you know, first of all, for the longest time, there was only one path for women. If you wanted to have a roof over your head, you pretty much had to get married. To some poor schlub. I mean, this is not news, right? Women couldn't have their own credit cards. You could not get a mortgage until, and it's still very hard if you're a single woman to get a mortgage. But
I would not have done well in the 50s being married to some poor schlub.
Yes,
I would not have done well.
No. But, you know, it wasn't until like 1973 that women could get their own credit cards. So women couldn't get credit. You know, they had a hard time getting an education, you know, all of that. And as it is today, the majority of wealth is owned by men. Out of the 1%, and I've said this so many times, and people are like, I don't get it. But if you're in the 1% financially, which means you're worth basically $13 million, out of that 1%, what percentage of that 1% do you think are women who are in that 1% because they made their own money?
I'm going to say I have no idea, but you're probably going to say something that shocks me.
It's 3.5%. So 3.5% out of, I don't know how many people are in the 1%, probably 33 million, right, in the United States.
You're saying 3.5% made their own money.
Yeah, only 3.5%.
But okay, as a counter argument, then doesn't it prove that there is the ability to go and make that money for both men and women? If there is that 3.5%?
That's really pathetic
Well,
on your part, I have to say.
Well, I'm just asking if it proves that it's possible.
Yes, it's possible, but it should be even more possible.
Okay.
So it should be.
But how do you propose that we do that?
Well, one of the ways to do that would be for women to get more venture capital money. So a very small amount of venture capital money goes to women. It's probably 3.5% out of all of the venture capital money. So that's an issue. But what I'm saying is that for 96.5% of the women who are in the 1%, they're in the 1% because they're married to it or they have a father who was rich, or maybe a mother who inherited. But in general, what I'm saying is that the money is going to men as opposed to women. And that's still what makes things, I think, difficult for women.
No, I mean, listen, you're talking to a guy who's built a company doing nothing but supporting women. I just am hesitant to paint a narrative of such doom and gloom around marriage and families and the opportunity to be an entrepreneur and build a business and build your own platform, because I've seen counter experiences, and I know plenty of women that I work with regularly that have done incredible jobs and have been very happy in relationships. I ask these things just to give a little pushback to kind of question some of the assumptions around how we're coming to these places. I'm not saying I disagree with everything. I'm just, I think there's another picture to paint.
Okay, but I'm probably not the one to paint that picture.
No, clearly. Yeah. No, and welcome to have your perspective. But it's like someone coming to me and saying, hey, I want to start a business. And I say, well, the majority of people fail, so just don't try.
Right.
And I just think I have a more optimistic view. Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that more women should be in that 1% who made their own money.
And I don't disagree with that at all.
And, I mean, there are a lot of different reasons why, women don't make that money. But I have to say that number, I think, it's pretty shocking to me.
What I've tried to do in my own experience is if there's a boardroom full of men, I've tried to walk in and not give it any energy. And that's worked for me. I try to walk in and I don't think I'm a woman and they're men. I just walk in and I want a seat at the boys club. I want a seat if it's girls. I want a seat at the table. And that's worked for me. I know that's not everyone's experience. But I find when I give it energy, it doesn't work in my favor. Does that make sense?
I'm sure that's true. I don't go into a lot of boardrooms, with men or women. So I don't have that experience. But I mean, men are pretty much, it's usually a man, at the very top who is saying yes or no to things. I mean, especially in the entertainment business.
Which hopefully needs to change. It should be more women, more men, all of it.
Yes. Yes.
But I think that we're moving in that direction where there's more opportunity. And so I just don't want to discourage people from continuing to push on those opportunities. Right?
Oh,
Because
I think people should always continue to push on those opportunities. I mean, I'm just bringing up, these are the facts. And,
but would you say
but, that shouldn't stop anybody.
it's trending in the right direction or the wrong direction?
Well, it's really hard to say, isn't it? Because of, I guess it depends on what kind of media you absorb.
Mhm.
If you absorb there's certain rights for women that are being taken away. And once they start taking some rights away, who knows what other rights they'll take away? I don't know. Who knows?
We're changing the subject to sex. In the Cut article, Sex After 50, you were really candid. What were you most surprised about with people's reactions?
I was surprised when people said that they found it depressing.
Why?
Because I don't think it's depressing. I think it's just a reality. And
What did they find depressing specifically?
I don't really know. It was just the sort of general, and that really came from women who, women, I mean, the piece was actually dating over 60. But it pretty much came from women who were over 60, who were trying to date, or dating. And I don't know. I mean, I thought that, the men who were in the piece were pretty much just regular men. And, there was one guy who he wanted to order for me. He insisted on ordering for me. That doesn't seem strange to me. That seems fairly normal for a super successful man who's in his 70s, given the world that he grew up in. And, a man that age he's definitely sexist. He grew up in an era where that was how everybody was. That was, those were the attitudes. And, I do find men are still pretty shockingly sexist in the things that they say.
I wouldn't want.
especially if
I would not want a
over a
man to
certain
order
age.
for me.
But
I would not
all-
want if
all
someone
men?
ordered for me. I would not like that. I know some people don't mind it. Personally, me, I want to order what I want to order, how I want to order it.
Yes.
Don't you think there's maybe
But-
some issue with painting a picture of all men are sexist? As the only man on the show right now? That's you said you don't like to speak in absolutes. That's a pretty absolute statement that all men are sexist.
Oh, I don't know if I said I don't like to speak in absolutes. I absolutely do speak in absolutes.
Apparently.
And
I just feel like I have to speak up for the gender.
knowing that, of course, there are exceptions,
Mhm.
but I would say in general, people tend to fall back onto gender roles.
Yeah, listen, obviously stereotypes become stereotypes for reasons, right? But I think I don't know. I just try to think about, and maybe it's realistic, maybe it's not, the world a little bit more optimistically. I think there are good men and I think there's a lot of bad men. I think there's good women. I think there's a lot, I just think there's good and bad people. But I have a trouble saying that all people are like this or that. But again,
Yes.
that's just my
Yes.
perspective.
I mean, there is that sort of saying, okay, it's not all men. But, the reality is it's enough men. Maybe it's not all men, but it's enough men.
But then what about just on this trend, what about the good ones? What happens to them? They just get a bad rap then, I guess.
Who's a good man?
I think there's a lot of good men. I think I'm a good man.
Okay, you're a good man.
I think I am.
All right. I don't know you.
yeah.
So,
I think
your wife knows you.
I think there's a lot of good men. I think there's a lot of bad men, but I think there's the same thing. I think that I have a difficult time rationalizing that because again, these are prejudices and these are things that people get painted with that then people make decisions on in their life. And I think if you go through life like that, it can be challenging. Like I start with everybody with the intention of this person's a good person until they prove me wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I do too.
Well, it sounds like
but
if you sat down with me, I'm just a sexist, prejudiced guy.
You know what? I have to say, I think you're taking it really personally.
No, I'm not. I'm really not.
Because
I'm just following.
Actually wasn't talking about you. I thought we were, you guys were asking general questions and I was answering them.
No, I'm not personally.
You seem to be insulted.
I'm not insulted for me personally, but I'm saying
sorry about that.
No, trust me, we're
I don't
fine.
mean to insult you. I'm sure you're a very nice man and you're very handsome.
Well,
there you go.
Why didn't you just?
Everything's clear.
Why didn't you just start with that?
Well, I actually have a question
I should have started with that.
That's trending on TikTok. This is a huge debate. I have my own opinion. I'm sure you have yours. What do you think about people splitting the check, a man and a woman, on the first date? Are you for that or against that?
That is a huge debate on TikTok. And, there's definitely an element of, and this is something that the internet and online dating has done, where people, I feel like if you're looking for like kind of a, normal heterosexual relationship, you want to fall in love, you want the person to be faithful, you want to get married, that's hard to find. Whereas any variation is pretty easy to find. So, there are women looking for sugar daddies. Like that's a whole kind of trend of, women who are looking for men to pay for them. And, the other side of that is, men who are looking for superficial relationships. And, here are these women who will fill in the gap. So, women are looking for men to pay for them. They're looking for, there's this whole thing about the provider. I personally am, it's like, I'd rather make the money and I don't mind paying.
I want to make the money and I don't want to split the check.
I
don't want to split the check ever.
Like,
I don't
make the money, but
I
also,
want to make my own money and have my billions of dollars over here, but you're still paying for me. You can take me to McDonald's. That's fine, but I want to be paid for.
Yeah, see, I don't care.
You don't care.
I mean, I've paid the check.
Okay, let me
many
ask you
times, and you know what? I liked it.
You like it.
So I guess, but you know what? I am not, I don't feel like I am like most women.
Do women get the ick if the guy does not offer to pay? The ick when like you get turned off by somebody?
Right.
If you sit down and you say, we split, like if I say, get your credit card out, or if I say, hey, you take their care, like, is that an ick? And you're like, oh, I'm not going with this.
Supposedly they do, but, I think whoever pays is the person who's in charge. And, I've always said, you're going to pay one way or another. I prefer to pay with my own money.
Okay.
So that's my
TikTok will love that, what you just said.
So for you, a guy, if you went on a date and he didn't offer, you'd be fine. Like, no,
she's saying you're going to pay one way or another. Like maybe like you're paying and then you have to.
No, because
Right.
I think a lot of
Exactly.
men wonder now, like, do I pay the bill? Is it, is that being a gentleman? Is that being offensive? Like, do I ask to split? I think like it's a question out there, especially with TikTok. People, like young people, don't
Michael,
know
if you're
what to do
wondering for
anymore.
yourself, you always pay the bill.
Yeah, no, I know. That's been very clear.
Exactly.
But
Just-
I think it's, you hear a lot of these debates online now, and it's like I think people are very confused on like what the proper protocol is these days.
Yes. And, it's like, does the person have a lot of money? Like, what?
Maybe I'm being sexist if I offer to pay, so I should probably stop.
It's a hard one.
No,
It's
I
listen, it's
mean,
a hard one.
I think the person who has more money should pay.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I was married to a ballet dancer. He didn't have a ton of money. I made much more money than he did. And, you know, I paid all the time and I didn't even think about it.
It was a non-issue.
But, you know, I'm that kind of person. So, you know, it doesn't bother me. And in fact, I think that it would be helpful for women if they paid for men more often. But you see a woman who's like older being with a younger guy and paying for him is not acceptable in our culture. Whereas the reality is that all of these women who they can't find that guy who is a couple years older and is willing to pay for everything, this would be something that, you know, why can't women, you know, behave the same way that men behave? Like, you know, a man is with a younger woman, he's paying for her. He pays for everything. That's one of the reasons why she's with him. Don't tell the man that. He'll never believe it. He's always going to say, it's because she loves me so much. But, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
TikTok's gonna like it.
And I really think that it should be acceptable for, you know, it should be acceptable for a woman my age to be with a guy who's 35.
All right. Now we're talking.
And, you know, if I had more money, I'd be happy to pay for him. I don't care.
Yeah, because you're saying you've had more time to accumulate. Yeah,
I think it just takes people like you owning that if you want to be with someone younger, be with someone younger. Who cares?
Well, the fact is that, again, what I'm saying is we've inherited a lot of gender dynamics from previous generations. And I think people are very confused now how to behave in many situations, because this is a perfect example. Like, do you pay? Do you not pay? Is it offensive? Is it not offensive? What's appropriate? What's not appropriate? You know, older, younger.
I think it's situational and everybody's different.
Yes. I mean, I think people have to get out of their heads about like this gender stuff. But, you know, we also live in a time where, you know, there's like a large percentage of women who are on OnlyFans. You know, I mean, they're selling some form of sex. You know, they may not be having sex. Maybe they're just texting the guy.
Showing a tit.
But, you know, it's kind of, I mean, I feel like that too is inherently a problem. You know, this idea that, you know, men just want sex. And, you know, a lot of men will tell you that they really just, you know, they just want sex. Like, hey, listen, I wish I could be that way. You know, like, hey, I just want sex from you while you're hot.
I don't mean to brag, but I have completely transformed my hair. If you don't believe me, you can go Google Lauren Bostic with blonde hair, and then you can go to my latest Instagram post and see my hair now with no extensions. It is completely changed. I started microneedling my scalp. I started using a gua sha brush on my hair to stimulate the scalp. I obviously barely wash my hair. You guys know this. And I eat a lot of organ meat, which has amino acids in it. And I supplement. And the supplement that I use, you guys know this, is Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand. It's trusted by over 1.5 million people. You can feel great about what you're putting into your body too, since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF Contents Certified. This is the gold standard in third-party certifications for supplements. I just take 4 pills daily with a meal, and I've noticed improved hair growth. I've noticed decreased shedding. I've even noticed visible thickness while taking Nutrafol. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter promo code SkinnyHair. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code SkinnyHair. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code SkinnyHair. AGZ. Okay, this is a nightly drink designed to support restful, restorative sleep. It's formulated with clinically studied key ingredients like calming adaptogens, herbs, and minerals. And it's designed to help you wind down in the evening and wake up feeling refreshed. So what I do is I turn all the red light on upstairs before my kids even come up. I put on some 5 to 8 hertz and I make myself a cup of this. And what it does is it supports 3 stages of rest. So the first stage, the aminos and the adaptogens help you wind down, which eases you into sleep. And then you get a restful sleep, which is thanks to the magnesium. You guys obviously know that helps optimize sleep quality. And then you wake up refreshed thanks to the antioxidants, which includes saffron, which is really important. So you wake up feeling refreshed and not groggy. My favorite part of this, though, personally, is I have to have magnesium before I go to bed, and I want it to be highly bioavailable magnesium. And this product, AGZ, delivers 250 milligrams of highly bioavailable magnesium. If you're going to take it, make sure it is bioavailable. If you're ready to turn down the stress and focus on the rest, head to drinkag1.com/skinny to get a free frother with your first purchase of AGZ. That's drinkag1.com/skinny. drinkag1.com/skinny. I am a big red light fanatic. I mean, I've done like long stories on this. I just love red light, and I really like a good red light face mask. There is one by this brand called Bon Charge. If you're unfamiliar, Bon Charge is a holistic wellness brand with a huge range of evidence-based products to optimize your life in every single way. So they have like blue light glasses, which I love when I'm winding down at night. I'm not a big phone person at night, but I even wear them when I'm reading my Kindle. They also have infrared saunas. Big fan of this too. And of course, my ride or die red light therapy. They even have EMF management, which is huge if you're looking to not have a ton of EMFs around you. And then they have circadian friendly lighting. So they really have thought of everything when it comes to modern day wellness. But their red light face mask is amazing. It's so good for traveling. If you're looking to help with wrinkles, fine lines, sore jaw, migraines, acne, scar tissue, razor burn even. The other day, I shaved my mustache with the Skinny Confidential razor, and I had a little bit of razor burn, and I used the red light mask and it completely helped it. I can't even tell you what a difference. So if you have a lot of acne or you just have dermatitis, I love red light for these things. Of course, we have a code for you. Go to boncharge.com and use coupon code SKINNY to save 15% off. That's boncharge.com and use coupon code SKINNY to save 15%.
All right, let's talk about formula. So Bobbi, it's not just another formula, it's a movement. This is a really, really cool company. It's the world's first USDA organic whole milk infant formula, and it's manufactured right here in the United States. So I had the opportunity of interviewing the founder of Bobbi, and that industry is just wild. You really have to do your research. Bobbi is clean label certified, and it's trusted by 500,000 parents nationwide. I personally think that when you are picking a formula, it's important to look into it. This formula has had 3 years of research. It has had testing, retesting, and it's led by a mom who really, really cares. So if you're looking for a brand that's by a mom who wanted something better for her babies and yours, you got to check this out. Their ingredients meet the strictest organic standards in the world. Everyone is talking about this company too behind the scenes. I hear about it from everyone. I personally like that their manufacturing facility is in Ohio. You know where it's coming from. And it's really a premium recipe. If you're looking for a formula, you have to check out Bobbi. They really support the whole feeding journey. They even have DHA to support brain development, which is crucial in the first year of life. And they gave you a code exclusively for our Him and Her listeners. Bobbi is offering an additional 10% off on your purchase with code SKINNY. Visit hibobbi.com for more details. That's HIBOBBIE.com. What does it take to date you at this point? What are your sort of boxes when you date someone?
I've lived in New York for a long time. I know a lot of people. I like to go out. I like to be social. I really just want somebody who's like in my world.
And what does that mean?
It means, somebody who they like to go out, they like to go to dinner, they like to partake in this kind of great New York society that we live in the city, where there's so many interesting people to meet. Like I go out every night I go out in New York, I'm going to meet somebody who's really interesting. Like everybody, I mean, maybe not everybody. Maybe there are a couple of exceptions.
I feel like now you and I are getting into a good place. We've gotten through our debate, and now we're gonna. We probably listen. I'm taken right now, but
he has a lot of friends.
I would have been fun. I'm a little,
He has a lot of hot friends.
Yes, but how old are they? You're probably 35.
Oh, see, now I like you even more. All right.
No, you have some 40-year-olds, some 45-year-olds.
Lauren, go out of the room for a minute. Right?
Yeah, but you know what? There's no, it's not in the lexicon of guys who are like 40 to think like, oh, I want to be with a woman who's over 65.
You'd be surprised.
They don't.
Yeah, but
I don't think so.
That's starting to become more.
You'd be surprised.
More common.
A lot of my guy friends. I have a story recently. A lot of my guy friends who are very attractive, single 40-year-olds who have their own shit together. They don't have kids. They're single. I said, and they actually enjoy women who are older than them way more.
Well, I
than
also
younger.
know some of my guy friends that are more mature and have maybe children from previous relationships, and they're not looking to start all over again with right. They're looking to, they've kind of got that part of their life complete in their eyes, and so they're, starting over with someone who wants all that again is sometimes challenging.
Yes, I mean, my feeling is like I have these 2 old standard poodles who I have to take care of them. There's like a lot of people, they're like, I don't want to take care of somebody. I'm like, what's wrong with that? What is wrong with, taking care of somebody a little bit?
I'm going to throw them in a retirement home.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem if somebody was like, oh, what about this guy? Well, he does wear a toupee. I was like, I don't care if the guy wears a toupee. We all have hair problems.
This is all real.
When we get older.
100% real.
It doesn't bother me.
Can I ask you a random question? This is just for selfishly. Where are the spots that you hit in New York City? Like, where are your go-to spots when you go out?
Well, I'm like super lazy. My favorite place to go is probably a restaurant that's in my building called Caravaggio.
Okay.
What is it? Like Italian food?
It's like I'll go pretty much anywhere because I go to a lot of like events and parties, and they're always in different locations.
So there's not like a spot.
So no, there isn't a spot. I mean, I am a member of Casa Tua, which is a club on 76th, and because it's really close to my house, so I feel like I can walk there. But
careful, you're going to get a line of 30-year-old guys outside your house waiting to hang out with you.
Just basically geotagged yourself.
Why? I probably shouldn't have done that.
Why do a one-woman show? Why did you decide to do it? How did you conceptualize it?
Well, this was one of those situations where somebody said, it was actually a producer who works with David Foster. I don't know if you know who David Foster is.
Not personally, but I know who he
does a one-man show.
Okay.
And I met this guy, and he said, who worked with David Foster, and he said, I think you could do a one-woman show. I'd never done it. I've never been on stage. And I was like, it was the pandemic, so I thought, all right, I'll give it a try. So I wrote something. He showed it to some people. They loved it. And he ended up getting a Broadway director. And then we went to the Bucks County Playhouse where we set it up. And so I was writing and rehearsing at the same time. And it was a stage, it was a set. And then I did performances, and they just kind of threw me out there, and I did it. And the strange thing is, I don't feel at all uncomfortable being on stage.
Huh.
And the show lasts for an hour and a half.
You never felt uncomfortable? Just
An hour and a half?
It's an
long show.
hour and a half, just me talking, but it's choreographed and it's the same every night because it has to be. It's not
It's a show.
ad-libbed.
And you're not nervous for the whole hour and a half?
No,
Wow.
I'm not. Like sometimes I worry about like, it can be a little bit tough because like if you're sick and you have a cold or you have a sore throat, it's like you're still going on. And what, the stage director will be like, oh, I put some tissues there for you in case you needed to use them. It's like, oh, that's great. And I like doing it because, well, first of all, it gets a great response, and it seems to get a universally great response. Like people come up afterward, I get standing ovations, and people, which apparently doesn't mean anything these days, but
They over abuse the stand, I think.
No,
yes, that's what I've
They
heard.
stand for pretty much anything these days.
Yes, this is what I've heard. So
Yeah, it used to mean
whatever.
something, and now it's a little bit standing a little
I
too much.
think it's pretty incredible that you get standing ovations for an hour and a half one-woman show.
Well, sometimes I think people are just like, wow, I can't believe somebody like memorized all that. And people do say like, oh, how could you memorize all that? But it's really like when you listen to a song and you know the words, it's like a different part of your brain
Yeah.
that does it. But it seems to get a universal really good response, which is great because, when you write a book, it's like some people love it, some people don't.
I want to come see it next time. Is it going to be out like next time I'm here in like a couple months in New York City?
It'll be December 5th.
December
at the
5th.
Adler Theater. I don't know anything about the Adler Theater, but
I want to
will.
come see it.
Yes, you should.
I would love
I'll
to.
put you on the list.
I would love to come support. How does everyone get tickets? Find you? Say hello?
I have a website, CandaceBushnell.com,
Okay.
that usually has links to the tickets.
Quick break to talk about YNAB. One of the things that stressed me out the most in my life before I knew more about money was my financial well-being. Many people say that financial stress is the number one stressor in their life. This is why I love platforms like YNAB. We've had the founder of YNAB on this podcast talking all about how you can save more money and, most importantly, put your money to work for you. You put so much time and effort into earning money, you deserve to spend it without stress or second guessing. YNAB, spelled Y-N-A-B, is a life-changing app that helps you do what you want with the money you have. You'll create a flexible plan for your money through the simple practice of giving every dollar a job, keeping you focused on the life you want. So whether that's covering your mortgage or your rent, funding your 401k without sacrificing dinners with friends, or taking that long-awaited trip abroad, YNAB has you covered. With YNAB, you'll stop wondering where your money goes and start deciding where it will take you instead. 92% of users report feeling less money stress since using YNAB. We all know what stress does to the body. It wreaks havoc on our system and our overall health. It keeps us up at night, and it makes us miserable to be around in many cases. The average YNAB user saves nearly $600 in their first month and $6,000 in their first year. Imagine putting an extra $6,000 back into your budget, back into your pocket. Life is short. Spend it well with YNAB. Of course, we have an incredible offer for our listeners and viewers. TSC Him and Her Show listeners can claim an exclusive 3-month free trial with no credit card required at www.ynab.com/skinny. That's YNAB.com/skinny. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/skinny and get on your way to being your best self. Here's the thing. In the world that we live in today, things can feel overwhelming. They can feel stressful. And oftentimes we're turning to funny places for support, sometimes online, sometimes to friends. But here's the thing. Not everyone is a therapist. Not everyone is the one that's going to help you find the help that you need. This is why Lauren and I love partnering with BetterHelp and have so for years. BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the US. And BetterHelp does the initial matchmaking work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. And a short questionnaire helps you identify your needs and preferences so that their 10 years plus of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means they typically get it right the first time. What I love about BetterHelp is it's completely online and you can pause your subscription whenever you need to, and you can switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. We've done this show for close to a decade now. What I can confidently say is that many of the high performers and achievers that come on this show swear by therapy, and now you can too with BetterHelp. It's convenient too. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, again, you can switch therapists at any time. You can do this right from the comfort of your own home. No more driving across town and waiting in awkward waiting rooms. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/skinny. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/skinny. Let's talk about Good to Know. Want clear, transparent information about your favorite beverages? We do too. That's why today's sponsor, American Beverage, launched Good to Know, a new platform with tons of information on your favorite beverages. No spin or judgment, just the facts. On the goodtoknowfacts.org website, you can explore 140 plus common beverage ingredients in one place for the first time. As a busy parent, I love having a resource that gives me clear facts so I can make the choices I know are right for me and my family. One of the hardest things about being healthy and staying health conscious in today's world is we just don't know what's in our food, what's in our beverages. We don't understand where the ingredients are. This is why a platform like Good to Know is so incredible. At goodtoknow.org, you can check out more than 140 common beverage ingredients, including what U.S. and global food safety agencies have to say about them. It provides just the facts with no opinions or recommendations so you can make the best decision for yourself and your family. And what I like about this is that it puts you in the driver's seat. You know what's best for you and your family, and now you can get clear information about what's in your drinks without having to dig through confusing websites. There is nothing worse than being in the dark, not understanding what you're ingesting into your body. So if you want to know more than what's on the label of your favorite drink, goodtoknowfacts.org is a great place to start. There are so many new products landing on the shelves of our favorite grocers these days, and we love to be able to try these products. Not knowing what the ingredients are can be a challenge. The way that I like to use this platform is I buy these new products and then immediately go to goodtoknow.org and check out the ingredients so that I can make informed decisions about what I'm going to drink myself as well as provide for my family. So check them out. Visit www.goodtoknowfacts.org for more information. Again, that's goodtoknowfacts.org for more information.
This episode is brought to you by The Skinny Confidential. We just launched new, fresh mouth tape. It is so beautiful. We have navy now with a navy tin, and we have white with a white tin. They're so beautiful. But most importantly, mouth tape is so amazing for your sleep. If you have not tried it, it has upgraded my sleep like no other. I wake up with so much more energy because I'm only nasal breathing. And I feel like it sculpts your jawline a little bit while you're sleeping because it supports your tongue posture. It's changed my life. I cannot sleep without it. And that's why we're so excited to launch a new colorway. So yes, you can always get the classic pink, but now we have uniform, which is navy, and blanc, which is white, up on the site. You can go shop it at shopskinnyconfidential.com, and we have a code for you. You can use new at checkout and you will get 20% off. Use the code new at checkout to get 20% off. Shopskinnyconfidential.com.
Well, I had mostly Samantha, Charlotte, and Miranda questions, but we went down a different route because we switched gears.
Well, you can ask Samantha, Miranda, and Charlotte and Carrie questions.
Okay, you and I will get together socially. We will now that we're
She's like, get away from
now
me.
That we're best friends. Well, and then I'll get all the questions that I need.
I don't know that you're invited to the show. I think it might
no,
just
I
be
feel
me.
like we're in a good place now.
He is invited to the show.
Okay.
Of course he's invited to the show.
Bring your friends.
Listen,
But
I love a big personality. You're a good sport.
But the only thing about the show is I've noticed, like when women come with their girlfriends, they laugh a lot more. If they come with their husbands, especially if
Pesky
they're
men.
The husband,
especially
get away.
if they're over
Just banish
60,
them.
you know, they're a little uncomfortable because
It's those
you
men.
know they worry that they worry about their men.
It's all these terrible
I
men.
won't worry. Well, we'll go together and I won't worry about him. He's on his own.
You know what? They're not terrible. They're just men.
Now if I go, I'm gonna feel really obligated to laugh really hard the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'll be the loudest laugher in there. I was just like, I gotta prove this girl wrong. I gotta show that I'm a good guy.
We have rapid
You know,
fire.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
No,
I know that you're a good guy because you're doing this.
won you over.
You don't need to worry.
Took an hour, but we got there. All right.
He's persistent. He
I am persistent.
went after me for 15 years until I said yes on a date with him. So he's persistent.
And you know what? I've always been telling her that she should be paying for everything and taking care of me
No.
this whole time.
No.
I think that it's kind of sexist
No
that she doesn't do that
No
for
way.
me. I thought, like, down with the
Well-
patriarchy and have her take care of me.
Who makes more money? Also, she's got an amazing ring.
Yeah. I told her, I said, go buy, if you want whatever you want, you got to get it yourself.
Listen, I know women who have bought their own engagement ring.
I hold my own.
She does hold
I
her
do
own.
hold my own.
You know what? We've been together so
But
long.
I want to hold my own and his. Do you know what I mean?
It's fantastic. I mean, there's nothing better than a great partnership. It's just that it seems to be difficult for a lot of people.
I
to
don't
achieve.
project. I've been married for a long time. I've known my husband, but I do not project marriage onto everyone. Everyone's got to do what works for them. Some people want to date. Some people want to be single. I have to tell you, if you and I broke up, I'd probably be single for a long time. So
Yeah.
I don't project any of my
I'll be
situation
calling
on anyone.
Candace. So
Well, I
Now that
mean,
I know that-
I do
Don't think she'll pick your
feel
call
like
up.
with marriage, people need to be, they need to be like emotionally and like psychologically together.
Simpatico.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like
it's not easy.
you need to be like a fully well-rounded person, I think, to make it work. And not everybody is, for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, some people had terrible childhoods and they're never going to be able to kind of not put their ego first in a relationship. I mean, I think relationships are, when I was married, it seemed like it was really about giving to the other person as opposed to taking.
It's this guy's fault.
No, it wasn't his fault. I loved being married. I thought he was like a really good husband. He got a little, distracted. A young woman went after him, and I don't blame him.
All right. And we've covered a lot of ground here.
You guys can be jerks, though. All right. The rapid fire questions. Samantha, Charlotte, Miranda, Carrie, who are you most like today?
That's a really good question, because are we talking about the characters now and just like that? Because they've evolved so much from...
Do Sex in the City and then do Just Like
Okay,
That.
so Sex in the City, Carrie Bradshaw was my alter ego. I came up with, and this is one of the things I talk about in my one-woman show. I was in a panic because I went to a sex club. That was the first column. And my parents called up and said, oh, we've gotten a subscription to the New York Observer. My parents were very conservative. So I was like, what am I going to do? And I was sitting at my desk. I'll never forget it. And I was looking out at a brick wall, because that was my view from that window. And the name just came to me, Carrie Bradshaw. I was like, I am Carrie Bradshaw. And so that was how that happened. And I feel like the first 2 seasons of Sex and the City were, in the pilot of Sex and the City, 90% of the lines in the pilot come from the book. So Carrie's voiceover is my voice.
Wild.
So, and that really set the tone for the whole series. But, I didn't marry my Mr. Big. And I always say to women, in the stage show, and this has happened in real life, I had an epiphany. I don't want to be with Mr. Big. I want to be Mr. Big.
I get that.
So,
I get that.
I want to be the one walking into the restaurant with the gold, with the Black American Express card.
Don't do that. Then they will nail you for wanting you to tip even more. They look at that and they say, this, you got to write even like 40% or else you're a cheapskate.
But I didn't marry my Mr. Big. So, where Carrie is now, like she married Mr. Big and then he died, and she's a rich widow in the city. Like that's not my life.
So
I
what
wish-
about in that and Just Like That? Who are you most like in that?
I don't feel like I'm like any of those characters. I mean, I'm, I'm not like Charlotte, not like Miranda. And, that's not, maybe if Samantha was in that show.
Rapid fire question number 2. Out of all 4 of the actresses, which one are you the closest with?
Well, I like them all. I think they're all great. I'm not really close to any of them. I mean, I was probably would see Kim Cattrall a little bit more because she was really good friends with Darren Star, and I was really good friends with Darren Star. And I love Cynthia Nixon. I mean, really, I only run into them at parties. So
We get a little behind the scenes.
Sarah Jessica Parker she's great, but I don't hang out with her. She has her own. She's got kids. I have to say, her kids are super, super nice. Like her son is so nice. Everybody loves him, and I just have a ton of respect for her because she works really hard, and she's also, I think, it's a really good mother.
Best book you've read recently? Last question.
Maybe How to Lose Your Mother by Molly Jong Fast. It's about her mother, unfortunately, having Alzheimer's. And it's so honest. And she talks about fame and kind of the price of fame. And it's really good.
I just finished that. That's so funny that's your favorite book. And it is funny because you can tell she loves her mother, but it's also complicated.
Yes, it's complicated. And I love that she doesn't shy away from the complications of it.
Yeah, it's a very good book. Everyone should go read it, and they should read your books. Where can everyone find your Instagram?
Candace Bushnell, Instagram.
Thanks for the conversation. Our show tends to go up, down, all around.
Our hotel's right by Casatua. All right.
Which
you,
hotel
Candace.
are you in?
Okay, we're at the mark. Maybe take that. Actually, no, we'll be gone by the time this goes out. We're at the mark.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Well, hopefully she's paying. Thank you, Candace.